The Koalition.
All right, cool. So, very interesting topic next. I remember I believe it was Monday, there was two tweets that was sent out, one from Square Enix, one from Marvel, and they both mentioned they had an announcement coming the next day. And then, that announcement turned out to be a new teaser trailer for an Avengers game that is going to be developed by Crystal Dynamics. And this is part of a multi-game deal with Marvel and Square Enix. So that's pretty interesting. So I'm gonna go to my man Tony, because I know he's the comic dude. Like, I always talk to him about comics and stuff like that. So Tony, what are your thoughts on this, and what do you think those other games might end up being?
Yeah, all right. I like the way they rolled this out, because like the day before they made the official announcement, like Square Enix and Marvel have a deal going on. Everybody went crazy, right? People were like, "Yo, are they gonna have like a Marvel world in Kingdom Hearts 3?" That's what everybody was thinking, right? But this actual like reveal was very surprising. Like, they're gonna make Avengers games. Crystal Dynamics specifically is gonna be making Avengers games. I'm like, okay, are we finally like entering like the era when we have like good licensed superhero games? Because we're gonna have Spider-Man, right? That's coming up from Insomniac. We're gonna have Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy. And now we're gonna have this potentially. Crystal Dynamics, for you guys who don't know, they made the recent Tomb Raider games. They actually even did the rebooted Tomb Raider games from like the early 2006, I believe it was. Tomb Raider Legend was just fantastic. So I'm like, okay, I trust this studio. I think they'll be able to deliver solid Avengers games. I don't know what type of Avengers games these are going to be. I know, so I saw people joking around saying, "Yo, they need to have the combat system of Final Fantasy 15." It's all possible now. But like, the trailer didn't really tell us too much. But it seems like I guess the Avengers are defeated. Like, you see Thor's hammer, Iron Man's like gauntlet, and Captain America's shield. I'm like, okay, they're obviously defeated. Maybe this is a little bit of a darker game. So yeah, I'm actually kind of hyped for it. I'm glad that I'm able to talk about this here, because when we brought this up on Throwdown the other day, I was the only one that was hyped. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is gonna be bullshit. Fuck this." Like, they've been burnt on like superhero games so often, they just don't trust it anymore. But me, I'm like, nah, man, this could be good, man. This could be good. It's not just some like bullshit side studio from Activision making this game. This is like the real deal. Crystal Dynamics making this, so I'm actually pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, for real. I'm really excited for it, because like you said, there's never really been a good standout Marvel game besides like some of the Spider-Man games were really good back in the day, and stuff like Spider-Man 2 and the ones on the Dreamcast. I enjoyed those. But there hasn't really been a good Avengers or Captain America or Iron Man type game, And obviously we got the Batman games, the Asylum games, and those were really good. But we've never had that for Marvel, so it seems like we may get something to that degree now, and that's really good.
The last time we had any game that was good like that was literally Captain America and the Avengers back in the Super Nintendo days. That's the last time, So it's been decades, man.
Ultimate Alliance, anyone? Marvel?
Ultimate Alliance was great. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
And don't forget about the Lego games. The Lego games were actually decent, even though they weren't kind of like the same idea as some of those other games.
Yeah, but I think people meant more serious games. But yeah, definitely the Lego games definitely. It's kind of ironic. They actually have been doing some good comic book games, but like for the serious stuff, you're right. Ultimate Alliance. I love those games. I can't believe I almost forgot about those. But look how long it's been.
Yeah. Like when the 360 launched, I remember I got it in a pack with Forza 2. Wow. I'm on Forza 6 now.
Yeah, because I played those on the PS2. The X-Men Legends games too. All of that stuff.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, like, this is a question for all of you, but like, what should be the approach with this Avenger game? Like, should it be loosely based on one of the comic book story arcs, or should it be based on the movies, or should it just be a completely original story that they make up on their own? Would you guys
it says it's completely original. But, which I'm okay with, because I want them to go dark. Like Tony was saying, the trailer was probably hinting at dark. I actually haven't seen the trailer yet, but I think that'd be awesome if it was like just a really dark, kind of gritty, not like the movies. Because like the movies, even like they kind of ruined Ultron and everything, in my opinion, where it was supposed to be this really dark and like brooding character, and he's just this. He was literally what's the actor's name? I don't know.
Robert Downey Jr.?
No, the guy who played Ultron.
Okay, no, because Ultron always seemed like he was acting like Tony Stark. You know,
Yeah.
James Spader. You mean the actual guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he just acted like James Spader. Like that was pretty much him. And and I also wanted to clarify that Eidos Montreal, the guys who make Deus Ex, are also working on it. With Crystal Dynamics. So, because we were talking about what genre the game would probably be, so that makes me think it would be like almost open world. You know how Deus Ex and Tomb Raider are both like kind of open world but kind of linear. Yeah. So I'm gonna guess that the game is gonna be somewhat like that, which I think would fit it, honestly. And this also makes me think of that leaked, canceled Avengers game. Do you guys remember that footage?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I hope the combat's kind of like that. Like, but I don't know if it'll be first person. Knowing these studios, it'll probably be third person. But I think a first person kind of Avengers game would be really cool, but we'll have to see. I don't know.
Yeah, JJ, you got any thoughts on the Avengers game?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, I really want this to be a multiplayer game. And the reason being is because that canceled Avengers game was going to be 4-player co-op. That was going to be a thing when that game was still in development. And I totally could see this game being a third-person action game, being something where, like, you know, you could either have like a whole single player campaign and then have like this co-op multiplayer mode, maybe not like a horde mode, but something where you could do co-op missions as like 4 of the Avengers. Like that, to me, that'll be awesome and stuff. A couple of interesting things though to note from that teaser trailer and also from the way that they revealed it to everybody. Because funny enough, me and you, Gary, were talking about this on Turn-Based, and I was the one that said like, no, there's no way that this could be related. Like I didn't believe that. I think the strongest connection that I said that this could be was to the PlayArts Kai figures. Because remember, PlayArts Kai for Square Enix does both the Marvel and the DC characters for their lines of statues and figures and stuff. That's what I thought it was going to be. And I'm glad I was wrong about that. It's an awesome surprise. But a couple interesting things from that trailer. The person speaking in there is Black Widow. It'd be very interesting if this is a game where we're playing as Black Widow for the first time like that, as like, you know, from her perspective. Because obviously I don't think we've ever gotten a game, you know, from either Marvel or just an Avengers game in general where we got that. We've gotten games where you could play as Black Widow, you know, specifically the Lego Avengers and the Lego Marvel games and stuff. But I think that'll be a good, interesting twist on stuff. So as opposed to playing just like Captain America, Hulk, whoever, you're experiencing it from her story like that. Or again, they could probably choose where you could choose your Avenger and then go about it like that. The other thing is also is that they actually said in the marketing for this, you know, on Twitter when they revealed and stuff, the hashtag was reassemble. So my guess is that this is going to be some sort of story arc, either based off the arc of that was called Avengers Disassembled, which was like a book a while back. Again, they had all these like different things that were happening at the time, or again maybe going back to the Ultron line of things where, you know, somehow something's gone down where the Avengers have disassembled or they've broken apart for whatever reason. And this is the game was like their big get back together to go fight whatever evil there is. The only thing though that I'm kind of on the fence with you guys, and even though they said it was an original story and stuff, it looks like the MCU. Like, again, the aesthetic of how it was presented in that trailer, the way that some of the actual weapons, you know, Thor's hammer, Captain America's shield, and all this stuff looks straight out from the cinematic universe. So at first glance to me, when I first saw that, I thought it was going to be a cinematic universe game, but just have its own story.
Yeah, I'm sure that might be purposely done just so that it's easily identifiable to, you know, people who do follow the movies, who may want to pick up the game and stuff, you know, like just so they can cross promote easier, I guess, you know, like, so yeah. But a wild Richard Bailey has appeared on the show. What's up, Richard? How are you doing?
How's it going, guys? What's up, Gary? Doing pretty good. I got in here a little bit late, but yeah, glad to be back on the show.
Yeah, good to have you, man. I'm glad you made it. So, you know, we're actually talking about the Avengers game that got announced this week. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I was very surprised to see the announcement. I mean, it's a multi-game partnership, so they're going to be working on a couple of different games, from what I understand. I still will have to, you know, be a little cautiously optimistic to see what it is, because I mean, we don't have any information as to what kind of game it is. We just know it's a partnership between Marvel and Square Enix. But I definitely am interested to see what it is exactly. I feel like, yeah, I did hear you guys mention already about the fact that we do have a Telltale game coming out from Marvel later this year. So Marvel seems to be trying to put as much of their properties out there. I don't have a problem with that. It just we have to wait and see what it actually is. And I also did hear Tony mention earlier that on the throwdown, everybody was a little. It was a little negative with this news. Well, yeah, I understand why, but I would hope that that Square Enix is not gonna mess up anything that Marvel does. But I don't know yet. But I do have faith. I have a little bit more faith than some of the others. So we'll see what happens.
Cool. So I do have to ask all of you guys. Anyone can answer at this point, but like what kind of villain would you like to see in a game like this? I'll ask Tony first. What villain would you like to see?
All right, just because like no one has properly covered him, I want to see Kang the Conqueror. Like this dude could time travel. He has all this crazy technology with him. Like I want to see him because I'm thinking like, oh, they're gonna go with Ultron again. It's like I love Ultron too, but it's like he's kind of played out right now. Go for like another big heavy dude. I say go for Kang the Conqueror. That'd be fucking awesome. Oh yeah, my wild card. This will never happen. This will never happen. You know what? The first thought that popped in my head, even though this won't happen, I want fucking Doctor Doom to be the main villain. Because he's fucking Avengers too.
Dope.
But that ain't happening.
that would be dope if they did that. But yeah. How about you, Max?
I don't know the comic series too well. Like I don't have much knowledge past like the cinematic universe. Right. So I can't really say too much, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if they did like an ensemble of villains, though, which I would imagine them doing that, like Thanos, and then having I think King the Conqueror, Tony was saying, and then like maybe, well, you think Spider-Man will be in it? Because I was gonna say Mysterio, but I don't know if Spider-Man will be in it. Actually,
I was wondering maybe, but I don't know. Maybe it might not make sense because they're already doing a Spider-Man game elsewhere. So maybe they won't have him in there, but
damn, that'd be cool. But yeah, I don't really have any knowledge past like the normal MCU villains, sadly. So I can't really say.
Okay, any thoughts on that, JJ? Any villains?
I like the Kang the Conqueror idea because there hasn't been an interpretation of him in the games as much, or if at all, like that. And he's one of the other bigger Avengers villains besides someone like Loki and such, which I think more than likely, if you don't get that, and if you don't get like an ensemble of villains, they're more than likely going to go back to Loki, because you got to think of a villain that's going to break up the Avengers like that. And if we're looking past all the logistics with the Marvel movie license and the way that Marvel's taken their approach to stuff. So, you kind of limit yourself between the Fantastic Four characters or any other X-Men characters, because that's what business is doing right now. There's very few that you could kind of go back to unless they're going to pull someone out of like a little bit of obscurity to make them into a thing moving forward. And for that, I'd say like either you go back to Loki or you go to, what's it called? I would say Galactus, but again, you can't use Fantastic Four. You go to Thanos, you go to the Kree. You could throw that in there. You could also say possibly the Skrulls, but again, the Skrulls is another Fantastic Four thing. But you got to think of like stuff like what's going to cause the Avengers to break up like that. What's a character besides like someone like Kang the Conqueror, besides someone like Thanos, which I don't think they would do Thanos like this because, again, since this is an Avengers game, granted, with a Thanos storyline, you're going to have like a bunch of different Marvel heroes and stuff. And I'm pretty sure Crystal Dynamics can only use so many heroes in their game here and there, even as much as we might want them to like open up the floodgates like that. But if you're going to have this type of thing where it ties into like the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe, or it has like those fun allusions to or like nods to like the cinematic universe, then it's probably going to be still a little bit more smaller scale than what we could possibly imagine like that. So I would say either Kang the Conqueror, I would say the Kree, I would say Loki, more than likely. Those would be my picks, at least.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I could imagine that the Kree or the Skrulls would be in it because you need some kind of buffer enemy that you're going to be beating up level to level kind of thing as you explore the game. But as for who the big supervillain will be, like my knowledge in particular isn't that vast of the comics. I've read certain stories, but I don't have that depth of knowledge when it comes to the Marvel universe. But I would like to see, something with Loki would be pretty cool. So hopefully they go with something like that. But Richard, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, let me just say first, I think a lot of you guys had some excellent suggestions. I do like the idea of an ensemble of villains. But my answer will probably be very predictable and cliche, if you will. I do, when I did see the hashtag reassemble, you need to think of a villain that is going to warrant that the team has to come together to take him down. I don't see anyone outside of Thanos, because they also mentioned that there will be more information coming on this game in 2018. That's the same year we're going to get the Avengers movie. So I don't really understand how it could be anybody outside of Thanos, unless, of course, they go in a different direction. But my guess is Marvel may want to double down on the fact to let you know Thanos is going to be in the Avengers movie. He is going to be a big deal next year, because we haven't seen him in any of the other movies for quite a while. So that will be my guess.
Cool. Sounds good. So the last question that I wanted to bring up on this topic. So does this still make it more likely that we're going to get a Marvel area in the Kingdom Hearts game? What do you think about that, JJ?
No. And like what we discussed when we did our turn-based about it, I said, like, you don't do that now. Granted, down the line, maybe, there's always that possibility. And especially Disney, they're not going to pay so much money for like an intellectual property like that and not use it. But I don't think it's the right time for something like that. And it just wouldn't fit within the confines of the Kingdom Hearts like lore, the Kingdom Hearts universe per se, right about now. It's the same way that I feel about Star Wars. And even then, as much as I might want Star Wars in there, and as much as we talked about it, how it could possibly work like that, I don't think you get that in Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't think you get that anytime soon. I do think, though, in other properties, other game properties and other studios, you do get more games here or there. This could be like the spark, besides the Spider-Man game that's coming on PlayStation later on, that really kind of, we start to see this resurgence of good Marvel games or Marvel property games, with a variety of different heroes and characters and stuff. But as far as Kingdom Hearts, no, I don't think so.
How do you feel about that, Max?
Yeah, I'd pretty much agree with that. I think Star Wars would be more likely, but I don't even think Star Wars is going to be in one of the games. And like, it's been brought up before to them, and they always said like they're going to keep the option open, but I still doubt they're going to do anything with it. I think the furthest Marvel they're going to go is Big Hero 6, because I think that's Marvel, right? But I think that because that's cartoony enough, to work. Like, I think other than that, it's mostly just going to stay within the Disney original characters. I don't think that it's going to stretch out either, as much as I would like that.
Even like if they don't do... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, keep Sora with like a lightsaber. I think it'd just be like kind of weird, like a lightsaber keyblade or something.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, even if they don't do a full-on world or introduce the characters, they could probably have a lot of references like lightsabers and Thor hammer or something like that.
Yeah, which I could totally see them doing.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on that, Tony or Rich?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Kingdom Hearts thing, so I'm not a fan of Kingdom Hearts, so I'm like, fuck it, do it. Just go crazy. Go throw Star Wars, throw Marvel, go nuts. But I agree with Max and Jay that they're probably not going to do it. Like, I even doubt they're going to do even little things like lightsabers or anything like that. I think Kingdom Hearts is already like established as like, I guess, the original Disney stuff, the core Disney stuff. So I don't think you're going to bring any of that stuff. I would like it, though. Like, I would actually be interested in checking out Kingdom Hearts 3 if they had that stuff, but I doubt it's going to be in there.
Yeah. Let me make a quick comment, and some may think this is rather controversial, but I'm gonna say it anyway. That depends how long it takes for Kingdom Hearts 3 to actually come out. If this is a game that we don't see until 2019 or 2020, I think they definitely will throw that stuff in there to entice people. Hey, you definitely should pick this up. I mean, it all depends. I know it ain't coming out this year. We already know that because they made a couple of those statements already earlier this year. So I would say I wouldn't rule it out, but it all depends how far along the game actually is. If it's not coming out next year and it's going to get pushed out even further, definitely possible.
Okay. So before we move on, because this is part of a multi-game deal, so is there actually like any other Marvel character you would like to see get his own game? So let's go down. Tony, how about you?
From Crystal Dynamics and all that, right?
Yeah.
Man, give me. I've been saying this for a while, and I said, this should have been a Rocksteady game, but they're not going to be doing it. Can I get Daredevil, please? Like, I've been asking for a Daredevil game for like who knows how long. Please give me a solid Daredevil game. I would love that, like a really dark, gritty, Daredevil game. I would be fucking amazing.
Yeah, that would be pretty dope. My pick is actually going to be the Punisher, because that's like one of my favorite characters, and that would just be like a dope shoot 'em up kind of game.
You didn't like the last Punisher game that came out, Jerry?
I don't even remember it. When did that come out?
It came out like maybe 10 years ago or something. Some people liked it. I know that, like they said it was really gritty, but I don't think it made many waves or anything.
What system was it on? Was it PS2? Or?
I think it was PS2. I'll check it out, but I remember there was a Punisher game, and I remember some people actually liked it.
Right. Yeah, I never even like saw what it was like. So.
Yeah, but you mean like a modern Punisher game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be dope. Like, just fuck shit up, basically. It'd be pretty dope. How about you, Max?
I think a proper Deadpool game, like the Deadpool game that came out with was like, it was in character, but everything else kind of sucked about it. So I think that one from Crystal Dynamics would be awesome.
Yeah, I actually really liked that Deadpool game that came out, but yeah, it wasn't like, from a gameplay perspective, it wasn't perfect at all.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. How about you, Rich?
Man, you guys already said some really good picks. It's very difficult to think of anything else. I would only say this. What they may consider doing is having it be a game of basically a game, something that they're not going to make a movie of already. I know they've talked about at one point trying to bring Blade back, as whether it's a TV series or something. That hasn't happened yet. So I could easily see them doing that, where they're going to have something different from, outside of what you already will see coming to theaters. Inhumans as well, but we already know that there's an Inhumans movie coming too, so I don't know about that. But I would guess it's going to be some of the properties that they haven't really brought back yet, like Blade, so on and so forth.
Blade is actually a really good pick, because like I know they've been trying to figure out a way to bring him back, to reintroduce him to people and stuff, and that would be excellent to do with the game. Like, that's the perfect way to reintroduce the character, and then you can maybe do a TV show or something from there. So yeah, that's a good pick, I think. How about you, JJ?
I think, I would take the inverse of that from what Rich said. I think that, they would, again, based on past stuff that they've talked about, of how they've approached stuff within the last few years, go more towards making games based on those cinematic universe properties and stuff. So I would say, based on some of the newer characters we're going to be getting in like phase 3, and if there is a phase 4 down the line, I would say Black Panther. I think that they're making a very big deal about Black Panther with him getting his own movie. Captain Marvel, which besides Captain Marvel being in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, I think that, again, that's another hero that they could push forward and stuff. But also as like a random pick and like an out of left field pick, I feel like you could get a really fun, interesting, and dynamic game with Ant-Man. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of room to play around with if he's either large scale, normal size, or small size. Because if you guys remember from Ant-Man the movie, there was a lot of crazy things that they did in there that were not only hilarious in some of the stuff that they approached to, but very creative. Being small scaled and fighting on a train set that all of a sudden turns into this giant action sequence involving a train and stuff, and it gets crazy like that. I think you have a lot of good, rich resources there to actually get a cool game out of there.
Yeah, I can really visualize that from a gameplay perspective. Like, you could have like different puzzles that, you can have situations where he can't approach it in his normal size, so he would have to shrink down to, proceed further. So yeah, that's actually a good pick right there as well. But you guys let us know what you think in the chat and in the comments as well. Any final thoughts on this whole Avengers thing before we move on?